Hey, welcome to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and I review fountain pens. Odd hobby, I know. It's kind of like Sheldon's fun with flags, but without the coolness of Sheldon or the flags, and maybe not even the fun, who knows. But I've got for you today another great fountain pen. Been reviewing several pens over the last several weeks that some are new to me, some I've had for a while. This pen today, the Pilot Metropolitan, is a pen I've had for a while. My wife and kids gave me this pen as a gift for Christmas, I think it was, a couple of years ago. And so I've been using it for quite a while. And it's a great fountain pen, but I don't want you to just say, okay, another great fountain pen. I think James says every single time, it's a great pen. Maybe I do. But that's because I didn't on the last review. Go back and watch the one of the Pilot Plumix. I wanted it to be great, but no. But a lot of the pens I've reviewed, I've really found to be good pens. This one is a long-term pen I've had. This is the kind of pen that's going to last you 20, 30, 40 years. I'm not kidding. You maintain this, keep it clean, it's going to be that reliable a pen. Pilot makes great stuff. And we're going to go ahead and turn the camera and show you a little closer up the style of the pen, show you the nib, show you the design, show you how it writes, so that you don't just have to take my word for it. You can look at this pen and know whether or not you might think that it's a great pen. So let's flip the camera and see. Okay, let's look at the design of the Pilot Metropolitan. This is not going to be difficult. It is very simply designed. Nice, clean, classic lines, a simple barrel, a simple cap, a good, strong spring to the clip that is there. It's not going to slide around in your pocket if you're somebody who clips. If you're somebody who clips it into several pages in the cover of a spiral or something, it actually might be a little stiff for that. I don't know. It's a good, strong clip. But a very classically designed pen. One thing about the Metropolitan, you'll notice this section here in the middle, this wide, extra wide band that's a little bit different from the rest of the gold matte finish of this pen. You will find other designs when you look at the Pilot Metropolitan where that band is finished with a flourish or a design, a pattern, that sort of a thing. Maybe a contrasting color. Depends on what you want. There's a wide variety in the Metropolitan colors. And this, or there are those like this one where it is plain. I like this where it is plain, and that's just a personal preference. But I like the nice, simple design of this pen. It is just a pressure fit cap, okay, and it does post very well. The section here, the grip section, is a hard plastic. It's a little bit slimmer than some fountain pens, but it's a classic size. Probably fits most hands very, very well. Again, this was a pen that was designed specifically to be good for beginners, and it doesn't have the ergonomic grip. It is perfectly round, and that if you're somebody who maybe the Lamy Safari or pens like that had the sectioned grip, if you don't like a sectioned grip, then this pen you actually probably will like, because it is not that. The nib, you can see this, get my camera to focus today, is a fine nib, and the one that I have, you have a variety of nibs available as well, extra fine, fine, medium, that kind of thing. It is a good quality fine nib, and if you've watched any of my other reviews, you know sometimes you get a fine pen and it actually turns out to be much more of a medium or a medium fine. That's okay if you know what you're getting, but if you're really looking for a nice, crisp, fine line, this is the pen for you. Kind of a unique design etch there that goes along the edges of the front of the nib, the top of the nib. So with that said, let's see how it actually writes when we put it to paper. Okay, we're going to see how this writes, and I realized while setting the camera up to write that I did not show you that this pen does come with an included converter. It's the bladder style, a squeeze bladder, so when you want to put ink in, you just squeeze, don't squeeze it down, but you just squeeze that in the ink, let the air out, and then when you let go, it will vacuum in the ink. It's not my favorite kind, to be honest, but you know, it works, and I don't have problems with it. I probably whine about them a little bit too much, just because it's not my favorite style of converter. But I will say I'm always happier when they include the kind that's not my favorite than when they get cheap and include nothing. So very good for Pilot for including a converter. That's also good because it does use proprietary cartridges, which I don't like, but Well, I like their cartridges, I just don't like their proprietary. Let me put it that way. Pilot makes good ink, so I kind of suck it up and don't worry about it. But here is the Pilot Metropolitan. We're seeing how that writes, and as you can see, it writes well. No blotches, no hard starts, nothing like that. This is a fine nib, and it really does write fine. It's not one of those that's going to end up writing thicker. I think Pilot in general kind of leans to a finer line anyway than Western pens, and then say a Jinhao or a Wing Sung. Although I have a Wing Sung demonstrator that has a really good fine nib that writes almost exactly the same as this one does. I really do enjoy writing with this pen because I can pick it up and I can write and I don't have to think about it. As long as I have ink in it, it's good to go. This is a gold pen, and I think what complements the pen very well is a brown ink, and Pilot has a really cool brown ink. I just happen to be out of cartridges right now, and that's why I'm using this Midnight Blue. But if you go for the gold, if you do, then I would encourage you, try the brown ink cartridges. They complement the color of this pen very, very well. I would say that this is a reliable pen because I just don't ever have any real trouble with it. I would say it is a great value, even though it's going to cost more than, say, a Jinhao, and it is. It's going to cost the price of 4 or 5 Jinhaos sometimes. I think mine was, well, I don't know. Actually, it was a gift. I can't remember what I paid for it, but I will put a link in the description below so that you can find it. You know, they have them at Amazon and Jet Pens. It's easier to find than a Jinhao pen. I will give you that. It's because it's more regularly imported, and so more shops have them. Goulet, Jet Pens, Amazon, all those people, you can find this pen. But it is still a good value, and here's why. This pen is going to be your pen 15 years from now, 20 years from now. In that same amount of time, there will have been 60 million Bic ballpoint pens thrown into the landfill. You'll still be writing with this pen. I want to say off the top of my head that maybe they're $15. Great gift pen, and that's how I actually got mine. It's just kind of an ideal gift pen. That gives you some idea of how the Pilot Metropolitan writes. I can show you that. Sometimes these angles on the writing is a little bit hard to get to. It just really is a great writer. It just doesn't skip around. It has no problems, you see there. Just writes very, very reliably. And that's the Pilot Metropolitan. I highly recommend it. Go out and grab you one. You will enjoy this pen, and not just once, but for probably the rest of your life. It really is a good pen. Join us for some more reviews. Like our page and subscribe to the channel, and that way you can find out when we have more reviews. We usually do at least one a week, and I know I've got some that are coming up. I just got some in the mail yesterday that I know I'm going to enjoy sharing with you and that you're going to like. So join us again for our next video. Have a great week.